pleasure to meet y'all at last, and welcome to a special video that I decided to make myself. This was a trend that was so around 2013 and 2014, but I insist, better late than never, because this is a trend I always wanted to be a part of. And so, introducing Draw My Life with Jay Nowak, aka KaijuForceNeo. I'm just glad that you know me either way, on Twitter, YouTube, or otherwise. So anyways, I was born in a hospital like many people in today's time or anywhere else in the entire world. My birthday was on June 4th, 1999, and some claim that I was one of the very last people to be born of Generation X because of this. I was the only child of my family at the time, but about 3 years later, in late 2002, I had myself a young sibling known as Luke. We were a family of 4, which included both my parents as well as myself and my sibling Luke. But, of course, going on to the next part of the subject, which I had parents that fought plenty of times, mostly verbally because physically it would have been much worse. It eventually got to the point in which that a divorce had to be made just to ensure that peace was made in our whole family. We were down one parent, so it was just me and Luke who were left without one parent. But eventually we managed to get ourselves a new one, and a marriage took place in April 2009. But considering the circumstances they endure with plenty of verbal fights, just like last time, would they be together forever? So once again, we were a family of 4 that included me, Luke, and 2 parents, though one of them was different than the other. We grew up with each other, we were taught right from wrong, and we eventually figured out how to get through life the right way, although sometimes we were a bit deceived. As for pets, we had ourselves Samson the Pug and Choo Choo the Yorkie, but we also had others. It was ultimately Choo Choo that won the vote to stay in the house with the family forever. Growing up, I became obsessed with a candy known as Hershey's Kissables. They were very similar to M&M's because of their hard shell candy coating. I was rather obsessed with these candies, and I would ask my parents to buy me plenty of packs in every movie that we've seen in Marcus Theaters, and IMAX, or otherwise. But eventually, after several years of being around, they became discontinued, and to this day, I very much miss them. But moving on to what happens during my free time, I usually became rather obsessed with Microsoft Windows type computers, including some that were older. It was Windows 95 that ultimately became one of the first ever computers I used in my life. Though, forward up to today, with Windows 10 that I have on my Asus, I feel like one of these I would choose more than the other. With plenty of different games that I managed to get, including Roller Coaster Tycoon, Freddy the Fish, plenty of other games that I've had over the course of my entire lifespan, up until there was a point of which that I could no longer play these CD-ROM games on the computer that I have now. I even managed to spend myself some time on the internet, but of course, PlayStation, Xbox, and Wii also managed to come into my life at some point. Probably the best console that I've ever had in my life was the 2009 edition of the Xbox 360, which was a black console with a black controller, and it also had itself a Kinect. Though moving onwards to another favorite part of my life was school. Yes, school. I absolutely loved it over the course of more than 12 years of education. I made plenty of friends, and eventually senior year came along in which that we would officially be separated from each other, because life matters as it turns out. Though, I'll tell you what, my senior year moments where I was up on stage and they called me by my names incorrectly, and that was very, very embarrassing. Though I should tell you right away that it wasn't just depression and embarrassment that plagued me up until this day. There were other conditions, including PGD, GERD, and a lot of other factors in my life that eventually led me to becoming very sensitive and honest, which of course makes me feel very special. Growing up with music, however, I seem to be a little more picky than others because I absolutely hated rap and metal music, but there are plenty of other genres out there that I do like, so that might be good for me. In terms of my dieting, I was not very good with eating. I in fact had a few eating disorders, including ones that were associated with both obesity and sometimes anorexia, because eventually I stopped trying to get myself healthy. Though, the turning point of that point in time was where I joined Planet Fitness. They were practically a premium grade of workout sessions that I just love to do. Since July 2018 was where I've been there, and I managed to lose at least 16 pounds of fat tissue and gain at least 20 pounds in muscle tissue as I became a muscle trainer. Though eventually, at some point in time, there might be a point where I will ask myself, what could I do next? As for jobs, I had plenty of jobs that I worked for since April 2016, of which that I had places like the Schwabenhof, Ellen's Home Retirement Home, and the like. Though I don't know how comfortable I am with sharing this. There was also a point in time throughout November and December which I got to meet up with a local therapist who managed to talk sense into me based on getting by doing whatever I'm told to do. I thought to myself, how the heck do you expect me to do something like that if I'm already had plenty of jobs I got some good experience in? But 6 weeks I managed to find out why that is, and I managed to pass the course without getting much of trouble for my future. Financially, I'm not too successful compared to many, and that's because I actually happen to be spending way too much, especially with a toy known as Hot Wheels. I eventually started a hobby of which I would collect Hot Wheels cars for fun, and I would do a lot. So I spent at least $1,000 on that particular lineup. I had the chance to find out if a psychologist would be able to help me, and it would also try to prevent what could be an addiction from spreading through to my brain. This is where the real portion of life starts to come in through though, because I have said that I have had a high IQ, and that's not just because I'm saying that it is, it's actually because I had a high IQ of 180, according to a certificate that I had, which baffled others since 5th grade. But unfortunately though, that certificate ended up getting burned into a fire after I was bragging about it to others during a campfire party. As for grades, I was almost over the top, getting A's and B's. Though, admittingly, I haven't had just A's and B's, I've also had D's and even F's some point in my life. I've always said that I've had a lack of credit on my channel. This is because of the fact that, well, 0 views have appeared on most of my videos, and this really freaked me out because my revenue was at $0.00. My subscriber count was at 17, and although my view count was at 6,000 plus, I still wonder why the heck that is happening to me, even to this day. As for dates, I've actually had quite a few, though I've actually broken up with all of them over the course of at least 10 years of my life. But that eventually led me to realize that some people just aren't meant for someone like me. My figure was pretty much something to judge for everybody, because of course the fat belly I've got right now is very, very stubborn, and I just have no idea why that is either. I was told I have nothing to lose in life, and I have no idea why I'm staying in my parents' house, and I am definitely considered leaving, but I just don't know how that's going to happen. But here's how I really managed to get by. This was my Twitter account, at KaijuForceNeo. And I'm talking about my first account and not my backup account, because that account right there has more than 28,000 followers as of today's standards, and because of the Game Tweet community, I have managed to get by very well with follower counts climbing fast. So, with all that being said, thank you for everything that you've done, because I couldn't have done any of this without your help. And as of now, I clearly have no idea what I'm gonna do next, though I fear that sometime later, if my YouTube channel or anything else ends up going under fire, then surely I have every one of my followers / subscribers to help me out with assessing the situation, as with so many times that have happened on my Twitter. I fear that my channel could end up being the next target for anybody who's willing to take over and claim their own sense of glory. And if you want to see more, go down on my channel Make sure that you like, subscribe, comment, follow me on social media, and stay on the Hollywood side.